It's a pleasure to be here today in Toronto with so many entrepreneurs. It's a little bit different than being in Ottawa. Today, I want to talk to you about the importance of entrepreneurs for our economy. I'm sure that you are all well aware that the state of public finances in many countries, and in particular in Europe and in the United States, is atrocious. Governments have lived beyond their means for many decades. And during the last recession, they got even deeper into debt. And now we all see the result. But because of their power to tax and the traditional but false belief that a country cannot default, you know that government in those countries have been able to get away with bad management for a very long time. Fortunately, our country is in a league of its own. Canada is the least indebted G7 country, the one that was least affected by the financial crisis. 368,000 jobs were created last year. This is one of the best performances of all G7 countries. Our government is committed to eliminate our budget deficit by 2014. And we will do it by reviewing our spending without increasing taxes or cutting transfer to provinces or to individuals. One major reason why we need sound finances in the long term is to be able to keep taxes low and to reduce them even further if possible. We have, as a government, kept our promise. The corporate income tax will go down to 15% next year. It will be the lowest among major industrialized countries. I would like to take a few minutes to discuss the idea of corporate income tax. I think many people do not realize that taxing a company, taxing a corporation, means taxing individual Canadians. Because a business is simply a collection of contracts. Businesses, as you know, enter into contracts with their employees, their suppliers, their shareholders, and their clients. Taxes add to the cost of doing business. When a small business or a large corporation is taxed, that puts an additional burden on the company, and this prevents it from creating wealth and jobs. What is important to understand is that this burden is always passed on to individuals because a business must be profitable. By the way, speaking about profitability when you're a politician, it can be seen as unpopular, but profitability is a good thing. When a business is profitable, it's because it produces something that consumers judge valuable. Profits are the driving force of a free market economy. Profits can be reinvested in wage increases for employees, in equipment to increase productivity, or in the creation of a new product. And I'm not afraid to say that businesses should make as much profit as they can while respecting the law and property rights. Because greater profit goes to the entrepreneurs who best serves the public, who makes a better product or service or makes one more efficient than his competitor. For me, the pursuit of profit and serving people are one and the same. And this is why market transactions end with both parties saying thank you. To get back to my point, when a business is taxed, it is the company as a legal entity who does not actually pay the tax. It passes that cost on to real individuals, you and me. The cost can be passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices for products or services. In this case, the corporate income tax becomes the equivalent of a consumption tax. It is the consumers who pay the tax. The business can also pass it on to the owners of the business by reducing their dividends, and then it becomes a tax on capital. At the end of the day, it is the shareholders, the investors, who pay the tax. The business can also pass it on to the workers in the form of lower wages or fewer jobs being created. Then, by doing that, it is the workers who pay the tax. And depending on the competitive environment the company works in, it will transfer the burden of corporate income tax in any of those three ways. Since, in one way or another, we are all consumers, we are all investors, we are all workers, we are the ones paying the tax. There is therefore no distinction between corporate taxes and personal taxes. Lower tax for corporations means that entrepreneurs will have a lighter burden to deal with as they run their business, but it also means lower taxes for all Canadians. And you know that better than myself, taxes are only part of the problem for entrepreneurs. We must also reduce the paperwork burden. According to the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, red tape from all levels of government costs Canadian businesses over $30 billion a year. Last January, we created the Red Tape Reduction Commission, which is one of my new responsibilities as a minister. We held a roundtable discussion from St. John to Vancouver, and also online consultations. And over the next few weeks, before December, the end of December, we will be preparing our recommendations to introduce permanent solution in order to get rid of unnecessary paperwork. Although our country has one of the best performances of all G7 countries, we must continue to promote entrepreneur and to promote entrepreneurship with lower taxes, less red tape, and more opportunity to trade, to innovate, and to create. You will excuse me if I talk about myself for a minute, just to give you an idea why I believe so much in entrepreneurship. The first thing you should know about me is that I'm from the Beauce, the region along the Chaudière River south of Quebec City. My region, Beauce, is unique in Quebec. It is well known as the most entrepreneurial region in Quebec. This is also where I learned the values that go with entrepreneurship: individual freedom, personal responsibility, self-reliance. When I'm defending economic freedom and entrepreneurship, I'm defending what to me are les valeurs beauceronnes, the values of my native Beauce. But of course, these are also universal values, values that are at the roots of Western civilization and shared by millions of Canadians right across this country. I grew up believing that when they are free to create, to innovate, and to reap the benefit of their work, all human beings will tend to exhibit some quality of entrepreneurship. And by embracing these ideals, we will make the world better for ourselves, our family, and at the same time, our community and as a country as a whole. Although we usually think of entrepreneurs as business people developing new products and investing in risky ventures, this is a narrow definition. Entrepreneurship is an outlook on life. It is the ability to see opportunities in your environment and exploit them to create something new or make something better. You can be an entrepreneur in your own field since there is always something to improve whatever we do. An industrial worker who finds a faster way to assemble a machine is an entrepreneur. A teacher who uses games to keep his students interested in mathematics is an entrepreneur. All these people create something of greater value for society. They do it not only because they can earn more money, they do it because it makes their jobs more interesting, because they believe that they can make a difference, because it gives meaning to their lives. And as Minister for Small Business and Tourism, it is my job to ensure that Canadian entrepreneurs can create businesses and develop them. Without the thousands of new businesses created every year in Canada, our economy would stagnate. I'm sure you know that 99% of the 1.1 million employers in this country are small and medium-sized businesses. And these small businesses employ about 2/3 of the manpower in the private sector. Of course, there is nothing wrong with large businesses. We need more of them. But to have more large businesses, we first need to foster the creation and the growth of small businesses. We often hear that Canada is lucky to be immensely rich in natural resources. But natural resources by themselves do not bring wealth. Countries like Switzerland, South Korea, Singapore have no natural resources, and yet they have become very rich. Natural resources can only be turned into wealth by entrepreneurs, by people willing to take risks and to invest, by people who find new ways to extract these resources more efficiently and use them creatively, by people able to develop new products, a new market for these products around the globe. For me, entrepreneurs are in fact the only real natural resource a country needs to have. All the other can be brought from elsewhere. The innovators, the entrepreneurs, are absolutely essential for economic growth. Unless government step out of the way and allows the entrepreneurs to do these things, none of it will happen. We know this because there are other countries that are also very rich in natural resources, but stayed poor. They stayed poor because of lack of property rights, because of corruption, because of excessive government interventions and regulations. Many studies have shown that the less its government intervene in the economy, the more prosperous a society becomes. An analysis of 23 countries over a period of 36 years have shown that for every 10 percentage point increase in the size of government relative to gross domestic product, there is a permanent reduction in economic growth of 1 percentage point per year. There's, in this room today, a lot of small business owners, entrepreneurs. It's why I'm very proud to be with you. I know that owning a small business can be a challenge. You may not succeed the first time, maybe not even the second time. But you know what? That's okay. That's okay because it was Churchill who said, and I want to quote him, "Success is never final. Failure is never fatal. Courage is what counts." It's because they have the courage to take risks, persisting in the face of adversity, trying new things, and yes, occasionally failing, that entrepreneurs can eventually attain success and help transforming this country for the better. How often have we heard that successful people like you should give something back to society? The implication is that they have taken something out of society. They should at least return some part of it as a token of gratitude. I think this is exactly backwards. Wealthy entrepreneurs are making profits because they create something that consumers judge valuable, something that did not exist before. Business people should never feel guilty for their success or grateful for having the freedom to dream and to act. On the contrary, we should all be grateful for what they do, despite the risk and the hard work, the envy and hostility from many quarters of society, and the roadblocks that government put in front of them. An economy become more productive when people are free to create, to innovate, to trade, and to invest. It's become more productive when people have an incentive to display their entrepreneurial qualities in the more traditional business sense, but also in the general sense that I have discussed. Entrepreneurs increase productivity. Entrepreneurs create wealth. Entrepreneurs create jobs better than any politicians or bureaucrats. Personally, I believe in economic freedom because I believe in people, because I believe in entrepreneurs. And that's why governments at all levels need to nurture entrepreneurs, not punish them with job-killing taxes and burdensome red tape. For too long in this country, we have had too much government in our pockets and too much government on our back. Our government is changing that. There is no limits to growth and human progress when men and women are free to follow their dreams. My dream for Canada is that the 21st century becomes the century of the entrepreneur, a century of unequaled freedom and prosperity. I wanted to share this dream with you, and I hope that each one of you in your own field, in your own job, will find ways to help make this dream come true. Thank you. Merci.